Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. It's great to have you here. We have a lot to talk about in the tropics. We're going to be watching an area next week that could encompass quite a very large area. Could it have Florida or surrounding states and areas in its crosshairs? And it looks like the Western Caribbean is going to be under the threat of this system as well. We're going to take a look at all your tropics and your weather. Let's get into it. So looking at the European model here first, and then we'll progress over to the GFS here momentarily. We're going to take a look and see the trend here. Of course, the remnants of Gordon here just spinning out into the open Atlantic, not much of a threat. In fact, as we go through the rest of the week, there's not too much to talk about. We do have a tropical wave moving through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands here, produced some heavy shower and thunderstorm action all the way down to Nicaragua and Honduras here in Belize. So watch out for that. The Bahamas here in South Florida also getting hit. And if we go out through the Cape Verde area, we get the intertropical convergence zone that's going to become very active next week, as is the entire tropics here. This is the system we're going to be looking at. It's kind of just going to be stalled the next several days here, southwest of Jamaica, east of Nicaragua and Honduras. We'll just scroll out a little bit. We don't have too much else to talk about. There are a couple tropical waves here, one near the Bahamas, one out here, of course, just southeast of Bermuda. So as we continue to go out here in time, our European model is hinting that there is this persistent shower and thunderstorm action through the 23rd here. We also have a very strong tropical wave here southeast of Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, and Barbados. That's going to be heading your way, but look at this. This is the area that all eyes are on. We're also watching an area that could really blow up, possibly into a subtropical low off the U.S. East Coast. And then this is the time period, the intertropical convergence zone, the Cape Verde season really gets ramped up here. So we're going to keep an eye on next week. I think the last week of September promises to be quite a blockbuster here. So as we get into the 24th, into the 25th, what the European model is wanting to do here is a very large area of low pressure. Of course, if you know, that's got a little bit of a hard time getting its act together, as usually they do. And then, of course, as we get towards the 26th, the European consolidates it into one big low over the Eastern Gulf and intensifies it rapidly. So that's what we're looking at. Also, a big tropical low out here by the Cape Verdes that's looking very reminiscent of a tropical storm. And we got a very gusty tropical wave here moving right through the Lesser Antilles. So watch out for that. This is going to be a very active week as we head out in time here. That's our last frame, by the way. Let's flip over to the GFS. Actually, one more thing before we switch over to the GFS. You can see this is our trough up here across the Appalachians in the southeast. It's all going to be dependent on that, as well as our big blocking high to the northeast. It's literally just blocking everything from moving this direction. So really, ultimately, around this high pressure system and depending on the timing of this trough, all depends on how fast and far north this Caribbean low gets drawn to the north here. And as always, before we take a look at the GFS, don't forget, if you've made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted when I come out with all my future weather video updates. Let's continue. All right, so shifting right over to the GFS here. This is what is going on here with our modeling. You can see we start out pretty quiet here. And as we progress through the rest of the week, it actually does look pretty quiet. However, here we go. The GFS, as we get into the weekend here, or actually we don't even have to head into the weekend. The GFS is blowing this up already on Friday, the 20th here. Right around the Jamaica, Cayman Islands area. You're going to end up with a lot of heavy rain here. We'll go over those rainfall amounts momentarily from Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Central America here, Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, up to Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, the Bahamas. Look at this. As we blossom here into the 23rd, into the 24th, this thing really starts to get its act together here on the GFS. You can see the low center just to the west with lots of feeder bands on the east side of the system. We also have that tropical system we'll be watching near the Cape Verde Islands. Could it actually form into a tropical storm and hit the Cape Verde Islands? It's quite possible. And then as we continue to put this into motion here, you can see that those low pressure systems really get their act together. We got this big low coming off the African coast. our potential tropical storm, maybe hurricane by this point. And then all eyes are on the Northwest Caribbean, Southern Gulf here as we get into the 25th, into the 26th. These model runs have been bouncing around. You know, previous GFS runs were over more this way. This one is more towards Florida. Let's take a look at the reason why. Well, this high-pressure system's anchored tough here southeast of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland. We have this trough to the north, but on the GFS, it looks so far to the north that it doesn't have too much of an influence at this point. So that tells me that this system could actually swing further west or even further east. So that's why we have Florida in the center of the, right down the center of the envelope here, so to speak. But this could wobble west or east at this point because steering currents look pretty weak. Although it is being drawn northeast here at this point, that could be what's left over of this weak trough here coming down into parts of the southeast. So that is something we're going to have to keep an eye on. This would be a not so great scenario here for Tampa, but it's important to note this is nearly 9 days out, so a lot can change. The margin of error is great. Yes, this would put a big hurricane right into Tampa, right up through Jacksonville, and then up into the Carolinas. And as you can see, follow that up into the Northeast. Yeah, this would be a major impact if this were to become true, but I caution you because when we get 170, 180, 200 hours plus out, a lot can change. So please stay tuned. And then behind it, we have a bunch of areas out here by the Cape Verde Islands just continuing to line up, at least at this point. The Caribbean and the Gulf looks a little quieter. All right, so let's take a look at precip and moisture here. This is thanks to Tropical Tidbits. And look at this as we continue to go out here in time. There is the areas we're going to have to watch. Look at it. Looks like Gordon's trying to come back here on the GFS. There's our system sitting off the U.S. East Coast trying to come back. And look at, there's our big wave. We actually have two major waves that we're going to be looking at as we get into next weekend here. This latest run of the GFS that's just coming out, it looks like, stops next Monday. So let's just drop back to the previous run here. We can pick up where we left off. And this is what's going on. There's two low pressures we're going to be watching next week. Our Cape Verde system and, most importantly, our Western Caribbean system. And here's the GFS. There is no dry air showing up here. Look, it's showing a 979 millibar hurricane coming in on Florida. Don't pay attention to the actual point, but the trend is there to bring this system up into the southeast U.S. here. So watch out from the Western Caribbean all the way up to the Eastern Gulf, southeast and east coast of the United States. Now look it out here. This dry air from the dust is really starting to thin out. That's going to propagate these Cape Verde lows. Look at this. So we could be looking at a hurricane out here. And this system, if it remains weak enough, it may actually skirt underneath this area of high pressure to the north. And it might actually allow this system to evade the influence of the weakness of the subtropical ridge. So it may actually progress towards the west, but this is grasping for straws way out this far, so we got a lot of time to watch it. All right, so our European run here, this one, yep, we were able to pull up that latest run. So here we go. This is what we got going on with the European model as we head into Saturday and Sunday. You see initially here on the European run, there's a lot of dry air, mid layers across the Gulf of Mexico and off the southeast coast. There's our Cape Verde low. There is our Southern Caribbean low. So we've just put this into motion Tuesday and Wednesday next week. There's what the European does. It initially pushes this low towards the Yucatan, stalls it out. Then the moisture starts to flow. You got this blocking high to the north. There's our Cape Verde low. And actually, that is our last frame here, September 27th here. So we're going to keep a close watch on this. The European has slowed down. At least this latest run has slowed down a bit. But the trend is there for the system to come out of the Western Gulf. And that's why I'm telling everybody from the Gulf, Southeast, and all the way up the East Coast to watch this system. And if you're in Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Bahamas, Yucatan, Central America, please stay tuned for this system. It's going to be a very interesting week next week. All right, so let's just take a look at our sources of wind shear and where they're going to be setting up with respect to our potential systems here, because, you know, the systems we're going to be watching haven't really initialized yet, but you can see essentially our European is drifting this low here into the Western Caribbean, our Cape Verde low out here. So there's, you know, the wind shear out to the north and northeast of these systems is pretty big, but you can see for the most part, it stays mostly across the northern Gulf here and north of our Cape Verde system. So heading out ahead of it, you can see, yeah, we got some headwinds up here into the northern Gulf, but as long as this stays south here initially and intensifies, as well as our Cape Verde low, you can see all the wind shear is mainly off to the north. And let's just take a look at our latest GFS model run here. You can see as that GFS initializes that low pressure system into the Western Caribbean, there is an area of wind shear across South Florida through the Bahamas here. Our Cape Verde system looks pretty free of it here on the GFS. And as we continue through time, this is one thing that this system here into the Western Caribbean, once it gets to the Gulf, may encounter is wind shear. So that's something we're going to have to keep a very close watch on. And sea surface temperatures are highly supportive of a system here into the Western Caribbean, Eastern Gulf, and even off the southeast coast. And look at here through the Eastern Caribbean and the MDR, we're still looking extremely well above average sea surface temperatures. So our Caribbean rainfall totals here, look what's going on as we head through the weekend here. You can see Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Bahamas, Nicaragua, Honduras. This is where we're really starting to light up here. And as that tropical wave develops into a potential storm, look what's starting to happen next week. This is very concerning. These areas across the Western Caribbean here could be looking at 125 to as much as 225 millimeters. We're looking at a solid, say, 4.5 all the way up to close to 10, 12, some areas 15 inches. And progressing over here towards the Eastern Caribbean, this is what's going on. At least through this weekend, it looks pretty quiet for the most part. But then we start to get that tropical wave here funneling in from the east next week. So we got to watch out 60 to as much as 90 millimeters in some of these central Lesser Antilles here. Look at the Bahamas over here. 100, 150 millimeters in some of these areas, 3 to as much as 6 inches. All right, so heading out to the Western Pacific, we actually have a typhoon. Thankfully, this is Pulasan. This is actually going to be weakening to a tropical storm. It does have its eyes on very similar locations that were just hit last week. So as we go out in time, this thing's going to be booking it towards the northwest here. As you can see, it will be weakening towards 60, 65 mile per hour. This one's going to come in just south of Shanghai here on the, here's the 18th. It's located right here. And then as we head into the 19th, so Thursday, look how far. Yeah, and it weakens pretty quickly. So that is some great news. Yes, it's a fast mover. It's going to come in fast and furious, but thankfully it's not going to be a typhoon. Now, look what's going on here. We have the disparity. South Korea, Seoul, South Korea here, and then Japan looking pretty good with the exception up towards Sendai, Japan. You've got that area just to your north there where you have that frontal boundary kicking in. Now, let's take a look. Look what's going on here. We have a couple areas we're going to be watching. The Philippines just look inundated here. Look at this. This is crazy, the amount of rain. We might have another system move up towards Taiwan. These look like very elongated systems at this point, so it doesn't look like they'll become super typhoons or anything of that nature. But one thing to watch is the tremendous rainfall. This is going to be spinning across the north and northeastern, northwestern, the whole northern Philippines for that matter. Look at Vietnam. Thailand over here, Cambodia, South China, and then up towards Taiwan and Eastern China. We can follow that all the way up to South Korea here in Japan. This is an endless stream, a conveyor belt of tropical moisture, and this is going to create some tremendous rainfall amounts. In fact, I'm going to see if I can actually pull those rainfall amounts up momentarily. But look at this. We could be looking at it like a tremendous amount of tropical moisture. So any one of these low pressure systems that try to form, we could be looking at, maybe some tropical depressions, tropical storms. I'm not expecting any typhoons here, but look at this. This is like total inundation here. As we head through the 25th into the 26th, the pattern just goes crazy. I don't know if this is actually normal. Look at this. Through southern Vietnam, all the way up through the northern Philippines, Taiwan, eastern China, There, it's getting out of South Korea, but look at poor Japan up here. They do not need any more rain. This has been a crazy tropical season here, and as we continue in time, this is like our monsoon season, and it's really not supposed to be more in the line of June. But look at this. We just continue to watch that conveyor belt of tropical moisture from the northern Philippines up through eastern China, and then eventually to South Korea and Japan. All right, so I actually was able to pull up this map. Let's look at rainfall amounts here on our European model first. So as we head through, this takes us through the 27th. Look, there's that plume of moisture from southern Vietnam up through Taiwan, eastern China, northern Philippines, all the way up through Japan, Shanghai here. We're looking at a solid 100 to as much as 250 millimeters. Putting that in perspective, that's about averaging about 4 to as much as 12 inches of rain. And if we pull up our GFS model here, take a look at this. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's even worse on the GFS here. Look at this. Some of these areas, northern Philippines, Taiwan, South Korea, parts of southern, a lot of Japan for that matter, all the way down to Vietnam. We're talking about some of these are 150 to as much as 350 millimeters of rainfall. That's pushing in excess of like 12 to 15 inches plus, 16 plus. This is crazy. All right, so taking a look at our NAM 3-kilometer, our future radar here. Let's just put this into motion as we head through the rest of Tuesday evening into Tuesday night. You can see where the inclement weather is. We have a few showers and thunder showers here across Florida. The big story is going to be what's left of our remnants of potential tropical cyclone number 8. So look at that. That's heading up towards parts of Maryland and Virginia here as we head through 7 a.m. on Wednesday. And look at that. It's going to have a very difficult time heading anywhere northwest of this line. So yeah, we could get some showers into as far northeast or northwest as northeast Pennsylvania there, but not expecting too terribly heavy. The dry air is really going to win out here much to the north, but watch south central Pennsylvania. There could be some gully washers trying to pop up here. And then look at this. We're trying to dry it out here across the Carolinas, but look where a majority of the rainfall is here. Yeah, we got some back here towards central PA, but right out here towards Nantucket, Cape Cod, watch out, Nova Scotia. We could be looking at, this really trying to form some sort of low pressure system. The good news is it starts to pinwheel more towards the southeast here. Now, as we take a look at Florida, as we head into your Thursday, yeah, we're going to be looking at these showers and thunderstorms popping up. It's going to really open up next week, so get ready for that. And as we head across the plains, particularly as we head out into Thursday here, we're going to be looking at several areas of potential severe weather, especially with a squall line as we get into Thursday evening. So as we take a look at picking up where our future radar left off here, you can see as we head into Thursday and into Friday, what is happening here is this area of low pressure is just elongating off the coast. Yeah, we're going to see those stiff northeast winds, some precipitation, heavy rain, some gusty winds, showery conditions here into southern New England, parts of downstate New York, New Jersey there. So watch out for that. That's actually extending into the 21st, so Saturday morning, 2 a.m. Let's see if we can get rid of it by the weekend here. It looks like it's pinwheeling towards the southeast. So yeah, at this point, it looks like the Outer Banks, parts of eastern Delmarva Peninsula up to Atlantic City may get some cloudiness and some showers. Our next system progressing here into the Midwest, but you might actually eke out a pretty decent weekend here across the Northeast and much of the Southeast as well, with the exception of South Florida. A few showers over here towards the Gulf Coast states as well. But you can see that system pushing up towards the Northeast into the 23rd here, Monday. And as you can see what's going on here, essentially we have a cold front that's going to be moving through the Ohio Valley in eastern Great Lakes. And that will produce some showers and thunder showers towards Cleveland as we get into later on Monday night into Tuesday morning. You can see that frontal boundary moving through with some showers and thunderstorms likely. And then a secondary front moves through here on the 25th. So as we get into next Wednesday, we could be looking at more showers and thunderstorms from the Ohio Valley east to the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. There it is through 8 p.m. So Cleveland on eastward to New York, Pennsylvania, and then heading on into New England. It's quite interesting because eastern New England, you've barely had any rain, but western New England, you had quite a bit of flooding a couple weeks ago. So it's just the disparity here. You have so many people that have gotten heavy rain and some areas that just haven't gotten anything at all. But there we go. We'll be watching towards the end of the month to see what happens with this potential hurricane. So looking at our rainfall amounts here, yeah, it's going to be a sharp cutoff as we continue with our system here across the mid-Atlantic. Some of these areas across southeastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia here into parts of downstate New York, parts of southern New England, we could actually get, anywhere from 1 to 2.5 inches. Locally higher, maybe. We'll see if that holds true. Towards 3 inches plus in some of these locations. So watch out. South Florida as well, the Bahamas. And then here with the Midwest, we're getting in with that system. But look at as we head into next week, yeah, we could be looking at enhanced heavy rainfall from Florida all the way up the U.S. East Coast. And look at your Canadian weather up here. Let's see, as we head through the 19th into the 20th here, most areas of Canada in the east, for that matter, are pretty clear. We got a system here across Manitoba and British Columbia. Look at that big system off the coast here into the Northeast Pacific. So as we continue to go out here in time, parts of Newfoundland here will get clipped with some clouds and showers. Southern Ontario, as we get into next week, the 23rd, look what's happening here. We got a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. British Columbia, Saskatchewan here, we got several systems just lining up. And look at this. This will provide beneficial rain out west as well as back east, as well as this low pressure just cuts off into an upper level low, so to speak. And look at this. We might actually have some convective activity here across southern Ontario and Quebec, some showers and thunderstorm action. Some of these could pack a punch as they move east towards Montreal here into the 26th. And look at, we got a 990 millibar low blasting up towards Saskatchewan, Manitoba. You can see that cold front moving through. So it's going to be quite a demarcation zone here. That's going to set off severe weather. It looks like most of it will be down here and through the Midwest of the United States, but don't rule out Manitoba and Western Ontario here. Could get some stronger showers and thunderstorms as well. Look at here as we head towards the end of the month, the 27th into the 28th. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, southern Quebec here, Prince Edward Island. We could be talking about shower and thunderstorm action here with this system moving through. And then a big system, that is a big cold front. If these two systems here are Hudson Bay low, yeah, we're getting out here theoretically, but look at that. That's an interesting scenario where these two lows could actually combine. All right, now looking at Canadian rainfall here. Southeast Canada looks dry, but look at central Canada there as we head through until next week. Look at this. We really start to share the wealth. Look at western British Columbia. 100 to 150 millimeters. That's getting up towards 3 to 6 inches. And then look at this. From Saskatchewan, Manitoba, eastward towards parts of eastern Ontario and Quebec, you could be looking at a solid 60 to 90 millimeters, up towards about 2 to 3 inches. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning digital professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So let's take a look at our temperatures here. As we head through Wednesday, yeah, this is where the 80s and some 90s here are, but the west is really cooling down. Look at here into the east, it's pretty temperate. Hold down into the 70s here across the mid-Atlantic with those clouds and rain with the remnants of our tropical system. But there it is, 80s all the way up into the Ohio River Valley, except eastern Great Lakes here holding down into the 70s. Now watch here as we head into Friday, September 20th here. 80s and even some 90s here into parts of the Ohio and Mississippi River Valley. That's going to be streaming east. We're finally getting back into the 80s here into the mid-Atlantic. Into Saturday, We're still holding on to some cooler air here to the north, but look at Ohio southwestward here. We're cracking 90 in some of these locations. Sunday, if you're near the Great Lakes, though, from Cleveland on northeastward, you're staying mostly in the upper 70s to right around 80. But look at this. As we head into next week, Monday, September 23rd, we start to see the evidence of another colder air shot here and into northern New England as well. And this warmer air is squelched a little bit further to the southeast. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, bringing to this Grand Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. We're looking really temperate here. Basically in the 70s every day, a little cool down for the weekend. But the good news is we are actually watching that system just spin to our south, so it's going to stay mostly sunny with some high cirrus clouds at least through Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it really gets sunny for the weekend. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.